Okay, archetypes. I got a request for a video on archetypes as part of the dream videos that I've been making. With archetypes, an archetype is something that symbolizes something. The meaning that it has, like an archetype, for example, a snake. A snake represents healing. It's found in many different places. The symbol of the snake, or the snake, the animal itself, represents healing. For the ancient Mexicans, it represents healing. In the times of Moses, biblically, it represents healing. Story of God sending down snakes to kill, and Moses' snake staff. All right, let's see what comes up. Okay, in Numbers 21, 4 through 9, Moses makes a bronze serpent on a stick to heal the Hebrews' snake bites, as per God's instructions. They don't worship it, but they are to look at it in order to live. Okay, when God decided to send snakes and have the snakes bite them, so what ended up happening was snakes went down and bit them, and they were ill. Moses wanted to know what to do, what he could do, and so he was instructed to take a snake and put it on a staff, and those that looked at the snake would be healed. So it's the symbol of, also I know with Western medicine, the symbol of medicine, I believe they are two snakes that are wrapped around a staff. So in modern times and in ancient times, the snake represented healing. And so for thousands of years, the snake has represented healing. And in some of the practices that Sergio Magaña talks about, he goes into working with archetypes and planting archetypes into the dream world and then retrieving them. And so you can work with different archetypes. You can plant them into your dreams. So you can go into a meditative state, meditation through breathing exercises, and then you implant the archetype into the dream and then you retrieve it. And so if you can dream a dream, say with a snake, is known by the collective, because we have a mind, right? We have our waking mind and then we have our sleeping mind, which is awake while we're awake. But then when we go to sleep, our waking person goes to sleep, our unconscious mind is still awake. Our unconscious mind operates differently. It communicates differently. Its time and space is different for the unconscious mind, and so on. However, it knows archetypes. The archetypes are a way that it can communicate, because archetypes have a meaning that has always had a meaning. It's like there's a consensus, right? Because we also have a collective mind. As humanity, there's a collective mind. And that was interesting, because I remember when I was studying, I was getting, one of my degrees is in psychology, and I remember studying, and when the collective mind would come up, I remember the professors would just say that it exists, we don't know how, like, they weren't able to elaborate too much, but they were able to state that yes, we have a mind, we have an unconscious mind, and then there's this other mind that is the group mind. Symbols are, over time, they become stronger and stronger. Something that is so old, like a snake, right? It's been around all through humanity, and it is represented for at least thousands of years to represent healing. Is a pretty powerful archetype for healing. The unconscious mind knows that. It knows that it's an archetype and that it's associated with certain things. And so the unconscious mind can utilize that to represent healing, or place it in, working with the energy of the snake. So if a person can say, for example, in the dream world, say, they become lucid, they become aware that they're dreaming, and they are, because it doesn't have to be a lucid dream when you encounter a snake. But if you are lucid, you could either possibly look for a snake, call for a snake, turn into a snake. You would then be connecting with the power of healing. I know in Sergio Magaña's book, he talks about the crocodile and the turtle. Those represent abundance. So there's different animals that have been studied. They're these specialized beings that operate in very highly refined, sophisticated ways, and they represent things. They have different meanings. And then there are also other archetypes. There are human archetypes like the martyr, the hero, let me look up a list actually of archetypes. Archetype. The concept of an archetype appears in areas relating to behavior, historical psychological theory, and literary analysis. An archetype can be a statement, pattern of behavior, or prototype which other statements, patterns of behavior, and objects copy or emulate. The concept of psychological archetypes was advanced by the Swiss psychiatrist Carl Jung. Well, there are a variety of categorizations of archetypes, so this is talking mostly about Jung. Let's see, the ego types: the innocent, the orphan, regular guy or gal, the hero, the caregiver. They have them listed as soul types: the explorer, the rebel, the lover, the creator. Self types: the jester, the sage, the magician, the ruler. Story archetypes: overcoming the monster, rags to riches, the quest, voyage and return, comedy, tragedy, rebirth. Archetypal literary criticism argues that archetypes determine the form and function of literary works, that a text's meaning is shaped by cultural and psychological myths. Cultural archetypes are the unknowable basic forms personified or made concrete by reoccurring images, symbols, or patterns, which may include motifs such as quest or the heavenly ascent, recognizable character types such as the trickster, saint, martyr, or the hero, symbols such as the apple or the snake, and imagery, and that have all been laden with meaning prior to their inclusion in any particular work. So it's in the collective unconscious mind. It's in our unconscious mind, and it is a way for the unconscious mind to communicate with the conscious mind, working from the unconscious level. To the ancient Mexicans, the lineage that Sergio Magaña teaches is the most powerful place to work, because you can do things and try to set things up as a waking person, but the waking mind is not as powerful as the unconscious mind. And so if a person can facilitate and communicate with the unconscious mind, and then work with and through from the place of the unconscious, and that's a really powerful place to have things come through and to help bring forth into a person's waking world. So that's a little bit about archetypes. The unconscious mind can use archetypes and different kinds of colors and directions and all sorts of different things, like weather patterns, all sorts of different things. Water, fire, wind, rain, and so on. And those, again, all represent certain things. And so depending on the system that a person wants to utilize, there are established meanings, ancient meanings, and then knowing what those things mean help a person not only plant dreams, but also navigate through dreams. And so depending on what's going on in the dream, depending on how it is that a person wants to shape their life, they can navigate accordingly. To the ancient Mexicans, everything a person lives and everything that happens in the waking world first was a dream. A person dreams everything before it happens. So if a person can dream and be aware that they're dreaming, and know how to work with the unconscious mind in the dreams, and a person can take hold on their life and help navigate and direct their life through how it is that they're able to understand dreams and navigate through dreams and all of that, depending on what's going on in the dream. So so this is a little bit about archetypes, a little bit about how it relates to the unconscious mind in the dream world, and what the practical applications are for them.